Hey guys, what is going on? This is Ryan, and today we're going to be playing a little bit of PLO 500 on CoinPoker. It's a site that I very recently started playing on actually, and have just had some really good results playing strictly PLO cash here. Started out with a fairly small bankroll and have just spun it up mostly pretty much entirely playing PLO cash games. So today we're just going to play a couple of tables and go through some hands, some reasoning, some logic, that kind of stuff, and yeah, hopefully we get into some very interesting spots. I bought into both these tables with 500. Just while I was setting everything up, I won a nice big pot there, a three-way all in, so we're now at 1500 over there. Queen 7-5-3, obviously a very bad hand. Right over there we see a chop. So on the left here we're playing five-handed, and then we have a full six max over here. 4-5-5-6. Just going to be a fold in position there. Hands like this are okay. Like if it would have folded to me, I would have went for the raise myself and had the pre-flop aggression, but versus somebody else raising, it's pretty bad to call because it doesn't play as well multi-way. It plays okay heads up, but a lot of times you're flopping small sets, small straight draws. So if it's a multi-way pot, a lot of times people get in there with the higher straight draws, those kind of things. So you want to be a little careful with the low rundown type hands, especially when you're playing multi-way. King 9-9-7 under the gun, not going to be a raise. Just going to let that one go. Yeah, I played with these guys a little bit. La Pampas seems to be a pretty decent reg. I haven't really seen him get out of line yet. And I played with him a couple of different days. Both Monkey D. Luffy and Are You Sure? I've seen them make a couple of interesting moves. Yeah, and then Stan Kick and Doug Plonk. I don't really have any information with them. They're new names to me, so haven't played. Seeing more and more people on this site. Before, when I was playing, it was pretty much the same few people every day that you'd be grinding out with. Whereas lately, it's been definitely getting some new faces out there, which is nice. All right, we get Ace Jack 6 Deuce. From the small blind, just gonna limp. Don't want to raise this one blind versus blind and inflate the pot, but it's definitely worth seeing a flop. Do I want to stab on this board? No. Start with a check. Now that he checks back, I think I will try and steal. Just bet 3/4 pot. You can just have a ton of instant folds here. So it's definitely worth risking the 750 to try and pick it up there. And we do take that one down. King 7-4 deuce. I like to open fairly wide on the button. Like if this was suited to the king, I probably would. But the fact that it's lower, like suited to the 7, just makes it much more of a fold. All right, we see a raise and a 3-bet, so I'm not going to defend. I tend to defend my big blind really wide just because equities in PLO run very close, much closer than Hold'em. Like if you get it in with one of the best hands against an okay hand, it's not like Hold'em where you can have them like 80-20. It's more a game of 60-40s, and then like if you can ever get it in as a 70-30, that's just like absolutely huge. So hand like this, I'm just gonna limp again. Last time we limped, he didn't raise and punish. Just gonna try and get away with a limp with the 8-9 deuce when he does raise. This is just gonna be one of the hands that I limp fold. Having 3 hearts is obviously not very good because it reduces the times that the hearts are going to come, and on top of that, essentially it's just kind of turning it into a set mine when you have 8-8-9. Down here though, King Jack 7 deuce. We do raise it up. Decent flop to just check back. He'll have a lot of hands that connect with this board. I don't think we're going to see a ton of folds. And we have it sucks when you check raises because we get blown off a decent amount of equity. We have backdoor flushes. We have a gut shot at bottom pair. So there's a lot of decent turns that we don't really want to get check raised off of. Now that the ace comes, I am going to bet, because if he has a hand like 10-8, if he has just a 10, a bunch of hands that are better than ours, he can definitely find some folds there. Now that the ace peels off, and if he calls, we still have the double gutter and a decent flush draw. Ooh, he does end up raising it though. So now we'll just have to fold. It sucks getting check raised off our equity there, but on this board, he's not going to have a ton of check raises. So the times that he does check raise like that, it kind of sucks that we have to fold out our equity, but all the times that he just folds a better hand where he folds an 8, he folds a 10, he folds 7s, that definitely makes it worthwhile. And then also by betting there, sometimes he can check raise with worse hands, the times that we do have sets and stuff like that. So right over here we see a raise and a call. Ace queen 10 3 multi-way, just gonna fold. We would have flop trips. I do see a lot of people playing kind of raggy hands like this multi-way. They're really not good hands. Like heads up, you can get away with it a little bit more just because basically you're trying to flop 2 pair and stuff like that, and the equities run really close heads up. But once you get multi-way, there's going to be a lot of awkward spots where you have the 3rd nut flush draw and just, yeah, a lot of weird stuff like that. So those are hands that you should tend to avoid. Over here we have ace king king 4. So we are going to 3-bet this one in position. We have an ace, so it's unlikely that he has aces. So our kings are quite strong. If he does 4-bet here, then we can just fold because people generally aren't 4-betting worse. I think. All right, I give it up. Like if he does have aces, that hand plays very, very poorly against it. So I'm just gonna stick to the plan. On the side here, we do have an overpair backdoor flush draw. We'll start with a check call. There's a lot of decent turns for our hand, obviously. 8, jack, spade. Some diamonds he can give up and then we can start bluffing on turns, but when it comes to 9, he just barrels again. He has a huge range advantage, so now we just have to let that one go. The 10, 10, 9, 4, just gonna be a fold. Yeah, playing pairs and stuff like that in PLO is not amazing. Like in Hold'em, when you play a pair and you flop a set, you're usually getting it in fairly good. Like a lot of times they're drawing very close to dead, or they just have somewhere in the like 5 to 10% range on the flop. So there's the odd time where you get in against a big draw and you're about flipping a little bit ahead, but for the most part, when you flop a set in Hold'em, you're really good. In PLO though, because there's so many cards, even if I flop a 10, the odds of you getting set over setted are a lot higher. So if it's like a 10 queen deuce, like the odds of somebody having queens is quite a bit higher. And on top of that, if you get a flop that has some draws out there, straight draws, flush draws, those kind of things, even with a set, it's possible to be behind equity-wise on certain flops against certain hands. So the times that you are calling with pairs in your hand and trying to hit that set, a lot of times when you do hit your set, you're only flipping or you're completely crushed. Sometimes you do set over set somebody, but that's why it's better to play the big pairs and try and stay away from small pairs. Like hands like this, like king 4, 4, 3, where essentially you're just trying to set -4. Yeah, you just want to be careful because you are going to be the one getting set over set more times. On the ace 9, 3, not going to be bluffing or anything multi-way. Over here with the ace queen 10, 3 on the button though, we will raise that up. I'm going to play pots in position as much as possible. As important as position is in Hold'em, it is even more so in PLO because you have 4 cards, because the board is very dynamic and constantly changing. Yeah, just having position and having that extra information is so much more valuable. Like on a board like this, if in Hold'em, if a 3, a 4, or a 5 came and somebody called your bet, like you can kind of take them off the fact that they have a gut shot in that spot. Whereas in PLO, you can't really do that because if they have hands like 3, 4, 5, like inside wraps, all those hands are going to call. So yeah, you just have to be a little more aware because every card changes the dynamic. Obviously playing in position is key because the times that you have hands that hit, it makes it really tough on your opponent, and cards that come that kind of change the texture of boards also make it very difficult for your opponent to play out of position. So there's not too many hands that I'll be folding on the button when folded to me. Maybe a couple, but over here we called it the 6, 7, 8, 8. Again, it's an okay hand. Hands like this with a lot of connectivity, though, I like to play. Like if it has a pair with two that are strongly connected to it, that is definitely a play. So yeah, like a hand like this, obviously it's not a very good hand, but if it folds to me, I will still be stealing on the button. Just because of how important position is. All right, Mr. Doug Plonk calls. They both call. And we're going multi-way to the flop. Fairly good flop here. He just checks out. Okay. So now that we are heads up, just gonna bet very small on very lockdown boards like this. I like to have a very small bet size on the flop. That way when you have bluffs on the board and stuff like that, you don't have to risk a lot to pick up the pot. So that time we actually had it. But if we just had a bunch of our bluffs on very dry lockdown boards like that, you want to bet very small with all your hands that you're going to be continuing with, just so that you get a better price with your bluffs, and that so people don't know like, oh, this guy bet small on that flop when he didn't have it, so next time you bet small on that kind of flop, I'm going to raise him. So that's why you want to keep your bets small like that. All right, nice little chop pot there with Queen Jack. Jack 79, very nice hand, definitely going to be opening it up. It sucks a little bit more when the high card. Yeah, this one was close. If I had a suit with it or was in a little bit better position, I would definitely open it up. But King, Queen, Jack 8, Rainbow, not too nice. But yeah, when you have little rundowns like this, it's worse when the high card is the one. Like Jack 10, 9, 7 is a lot more strong than 7, 8, 9 Jack, just because when you do flop a lot of wraps, when the high card is up there, you're going to flop a lot of non-nutted wraps, whereas on the low side, you'll flop a lot more straights with redraws and wraps to the nut straight versus the non-nut straight. Over here though, definitely do still peel the 3-bet, and we flop trips. Multi-way, I think I am just going to raise. Don't have to raise very big though. If it was heads up, I would definitely just peel here, but the fact that we are a 3-way, I don't want to peel, let him in with certain heart draws, things like that. And on the side here, we raise up with Jack 10, 9, 8. We do flop, middle pair, and a heart draw. Just gonna start with a check call on this board. It's one that I don't want to bet and then get blown off my hand. So I would rather check call and then kind of evaluate turns and rivers when it does get checked through. And I'm going to bet a little on the larger side here, and then obviously if he raises, I will be folding. But we do get some value, and up here we're all in. Has a kings and a flush draw. All right, so we won the first board, and he does hit his hearts, but we bowed up, so we win both boards. One of the nice features on CoinPoker is it does let you run it twice. Not all sites do, but I personally like it for PLO just because PLO is a high variance game as it is, because you're getting it in as like a 60% favorite, 70% favorite a lot of times. There's going to be a lot of times where obviously you are losing those hands. So running it twice just kind of reduces the variance in an already high variance game. And times like that where you get in quite good, you often can scoop both boards. So again, hand like this, 4, 4, 5, 9, just absolutely useless, especially multi-way. Yeah, just a very, very bad hand overall. Don't want to see flops like that. Even when you flop your 4, you have to be very, very cautious. So yeah, just stay away from hands like these. King 9, 7, 4 here. Again, if it folds to me, I will be playing it. Other than that, even when with a limp, I'm just going to fold. Playing in position is important, but this hand is very trashy. And it's not like I'm going to get many steals when somebody's limp. Like, people hardly ever limp fold from under the gun in PLO, so generally when they limp, they are limping to limp call. Definitely might be a recreational player. It was one of the guys that we didn't have any information on, but yeah, usually players who are limping a lot are more recreational. Not always, but as a general tendency, that's kind of what I assume. Queen 8 3 4, again, terrible hand. Obviously, having 3 to your suit in PLO is quite bad because it just reduces the chances that you're going to hit hearts. And when you have a heart draw, it's just one less out that you have because obviously it's in your hand and not going to come on the board. So over here, monkey did raise. I went multi-way to the flop. And nobody is attacking this one. If I was monkey, I'd definitely... Yeah, definitely be attacking there. He has a huge range advantage on that board, especially when it checks to him twice. I don't know what he had, but... All right, we see a raise and a 3-bet. Monkey seems to be a little... He's been quite active the last few hands. Haven't seen what he had, but... Yeah, maybe folding the ace, king, king 4 against him a little earlier was not ideal. Like, obviously when you get ace, king, king 4, yeah, it's quite strong because having the ace in your hand reduces the amount of combinations of aces that he has. And a hand with certain ace, king, king hands you can play in position, but ace, king, king 4 is not overly playable post flop, like one suit. So those hands are just better to 3-bet for value when you get 4-bet. By players who are only 4-betting aces, it's an easy fold and you can get away from cheap. And when they call, you have a hand that is generally ahead pre-flop. Unless they're trapping with some weak aces, but generally players don't do that too much. Over here, I am going to 3-bet in position. Not an amazing hand. It is a decent rundown. I don't really want to play it multi-way. Okay. Apparently we're going to have to anyways. Yeah, this hand plays a lot better heads up just because you're flopping a lot of like 2 pairs, pair gut shots that can continue. So I was just trying to isolate him since he's been opening so wide and trying to play a pot against him in position. On a board like this, multi-way just can be checking back. We do have a gutter. There's a few decent turns that don't complete our hand. The 9 is one of them. Obviously 6, 8, 8 jacket there, but an 8 or a king now gives us a straight. Do we want to call and potentially bluff club rivers? Nah, just gonna fold. If this was heads up, you can play it a little bit differently. Because the texture changes so much on boards, there's certain times where when you have an equity hand that maybe it's like a very marginal call or very close to it, but there's another draw out there. A lot of times you can call and bluff in position when those draws complete. All right, we get a very premium hand here. So Queen Jack 10 8. So this is a better hand, as I said, because the gapper is on the low end. So on flops like 9 7x or like 9 things like that, you're always flopping the nuts. I'm just gonna full pot at this time. Last time I made it 50 and we went multi-way. Just gonna full pot in position here. We do take the button, so we will be playing this in position. This guy's just cold calling all kinds of different hands, so I'm not gonna be 3-betting to isolate as much, and I'm just gonna be 3-betting for value instead. Because yeah, when players are sticky like that, if there's a hand that I'm trying to 3-bet to isolate and get it heads up, I'm obviously not going to try and do that when there's a player who is very sticky like that. So an interesting flop. We do flop a pair, double backdoor flush draw. I think I'm just going to start with a check multi-way though. And then I can delayed c-bet a lot of turns in that. I don't think this is one of them. We do turn a little bit more equity. So I definitely will call here with top 2 flush draw gutter. Could have some boats, but could just have a lot of air as well. And over here we raised up the 4 7 7 8. Now we do flop a pair and a gutter, but and when he full pots it, just going to have to give it up, I believe. Yeah, I don't know how many bluffs he has here into 2 people. Until we get a little bit more feel for him, just going to have to fold, unfortunately. And same over here with the diamond draw. Not really getting the flops we want, and we're going multi-way. Obviously, PLO, when you're heads up, is a little bit different because you can attack a lot more boards. You can, yeah, just make a lot more interesting plays. But in games like this, when people are calling and stuff like that, the way that you're going to beat these games is more just to tighten up your range. In a bit tighter game, you can kind of loosen up a little bit, and people aren't going to really be 3-betting you too much. And when they do 3-bet you, you can kind of, you have a sense of the kind of hands that they always have. So in those kind of games, you can kind of loosen up a little bit more, attack players, things like that. But in a game like this where people are just always calling, yeah, the way that you're going to make money is definitely just to tighten up and wait for the hands, because they are going to be calling your raises, 3-bets, those kind of things, and you'll be just getting in these really bloated pots with yeah, hands that generally dominate other hands on certain flops. So that is what we are going to be doing. Over here, we did fold to the min raise just because this is, again, a hand where it's very hard to realize your equity with hands like this multi-way. If somebody raised heads up and it was folded to me, I would definitely defend and then play certain flops. But when it's raised, call, even though we're getting a better immediate price, there's just going to be hardly any boards that we can continue on. And when we do continue, it's just going to be, yeah, we're just going to be put in a lot of very tough spots. Even on this board multi-way. Like, yes, we have our full house, but we're not happy. We're in call mode. Basically just hoping that our underboat is good. I'm going to 3-bet the king jack 10-7, or the king jack 10-7 single suited. Just trying to get heads up, and obviously you have to 3-bet a fair, like you can't just be 3-betting aces and like that. So this is more of like a 3-bet bluff out of position. If I was in the big blind, I would just defend, but again, this hand plays better heads up than multi-way. But apparently we will not be getting that heads up. So on the other flop, because I had top pair and a gutter, I went for the check. On this board, I am just going to start with a small bet. Because we have a no equity hand, the times that they continue or raise, we don't really mind too much. But all the times that it just goes fold, then that's great for us because we're not folding out any equity. Here he does raise, so we are happy to just fold there. And over here, limped pot, we have 3s. We have enough showdown value that I don't need to turn our hand into a bluff. Especially when the kings come. I don't think we can get paid by worse, so I'm not going to be betting here, but probably just check call. Oh, he does have 5s, all right. And on the side here we have 9, 9, 10 deuce double suited. When folded to us, obviously going to be stealing with that one. I want to 3-bet this hand to try. No, every time I try and 3-bet to isolate, other people behind come, and then we just get in a weird spot. So with a hand like this, definitely not going to. Over here on the side though, there's a limp and a raise. I am going to 3-bet the ace, king, queen, 9 for value. As we've seen, this player is opening a lot of pots. Ace, king, queen, 9 is definitely ahead of their opening range. And it can just connect with a lot of flops, a lot of the like high texture flops. Especially a hand like this. When we hit it this hard, I'm actually just going to go with a check. Basically just balancing it. Like you don't want to be, you want to balance it a little bit so that on boards like this, you want to check with the nuts sometimes so that you're not always check folding. There's a lot of players who, when they check this board, they never have it. And then when they bet this board, they always have it. When it gets checked through multi-way, I will bet the turn. Trying to get value and terrible run out, especially when we get called. All right, now we just have to fold. Ooh, the runouts are not quite going our way today. I haven't seen this player bluff in good bluff spots, so my one note on him is that he doesn't really take the good bluff spots. That being said, not going to find a hero call there, especially with no clubs in our hand. Yeah, great spot there. Yeah, as I was saying, just because if there's a player that's always check folding on certain textures, you can just punish them by any time that they check to you in position. You can play a lot more pots with them because anytime they check to you, you can just bluff and take it down. So in order to do that, you want to be check calling certain hands like that when you flop the nuts, just to try and balance it out. And over here we flop the wrap and a flush draw, so monster flop for our hand. Even against sets and stuff like that, we have just incredible equity. So I am going to pot it. And on boards like this, I'm just going to go for the full pot because I don't really have like full air bluffs on this board. Monkey is thinking about it, so we do hit the straight. It is the bottom end straight. But with a 1 stacked pot, again, I'm just going to pot go with it. If he does have ace-10, cool. Hopefully we can hit some hearts, things like that, but never getting away from it for a 1 stacked pot. So obviously want to punish the flush draw, sets, 2 pairs, those kind of things that might call in that spot. 9, 10, 2, 3. Double suited hands are very nice, but not hands like this too much. There's just the 2 and the 3 work together, but for very non-nutted hands, and then the 9 and the 10 kind of work together, but again, not too amazing. So hands like this, even I'd steal it on the button, but in the cutoff, I will fold, especially with very loose players who are just seeing a lot of flops and things like that. In tighter games, I'd probably open this up, but yeah, a lot of winning at poker is just trying to exploit the game that you're in. So trying to change your style up, change your play in that is very, very necessary in a lot of different games if you want to try and make the most money. Which at the end of the day is usually the goal when you're playing a little PLO cash game. All right, we see these two guys facing off. Over here, ace, 2, 3, 4. Pretty awful hand, no suits. Just gonna be folding. Yeah, not even gonna defend this one multi-way. Again, it's just a hand that's flopping like the low wraps, things like that. So multi-way, you're just gonna get punished so often where you flop maybe bottom pair, like bottom open-ended, the small wraps, things like that. So yeah, it's just better to steer clear of hands like this multi-way. King 9, 8, 4. Again, pretty trashy hand. So if a lot of people open, I just will be folding it. If it folds around to me somehow, I would probably limp call this one blind versus blind. But we do take it down, all right. Over here, Queen 8, 5, 9. So these guys seem to be quite tight. It's not like on our other table here where we have Are You Sure just calling every single hand. So with a nice little double suited hand like this, I am going to 3-bet to isolate against Monkey, who is opening a lot of pots. When he does 4-bet, very likely he has some ace-ace combos, so we're just going to call and yeah, play post flop. When we flop top pair, flush draw, definitely just going with it. Hoping that he doesn't have the hearts. Nope, just naked aces. All right, we lose the first one. But we do get the second one, so chop that one up. So yeah, the only times that we've seen him 4-bet, well, that is the only one that he's had to show down. Did wake up with aces, so yeah, I don't know if he has 4-bet bluffs. We 3-bet him a lot and he's just called, so I think with our ace, king, king, 4 from earlier that we did fold to his 4-bet, I don't think he's ever 4-betting too crazy. He seems just more like the passive player who's going to call in that spot a lot. So over here, this guy's just been folding a lot, so I'm going to auto raise pretty much any hand against him, especially this one. When it comes to ace, queen, 9, we are going to start with a 2/3 bet and take that one down. All right, we get some aces here. Not amazing aces. Obviously, being suited to the 5 rather than the aces is not quite as good. But with a raise, the fact that I've been 3-betting a lot, I'm also going to 3-bet some aces. If I was out of position with terrible aces like this, I would be much more inclined to just flat. but yeah. All right, probably just going to play this last hand and then call it. We'll sit out next hand over here. All right, great flop. Again, this is one of those spots where, as I said, you want to just bet small the times that you have bluffs. On the other board, I bet very small on the like 8-8-7 and took that one down. So again, here I'm going to be betting small. Yeah, somewhere around a third pot is kind of my go-to. So this is just a tiny bit above third pot. All right, we do get called. Definitely could have some like 10-10 combos, things like that, that we do have to be afraid of. But I think I'm just going to be going for 3 streets here. If Jack raises, it's kind of an interesting spot, but he doesn't. We just take that one down. All right, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, I'm going to bring a second part to this where I play a little bit more 500 PLO, and hopefully we can get into some more interesting spots and yeah, share a little bit of knowledge. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.